Well, it's a courtroom you could find yourself in even if you're never involved in an actual crime. In this week's Know the Law segment, Tom Sinas joining us here to talk about small claims court and exactly how it works. We're familiar with small claims court because the most famous one would be the People's Court, I suppose, right?
It was kind of like a small claims court, you know, dramatized for TV.
Yeah, that's a good point. Dramatized a little bit extra.
What we're talking about here in small claims court, we're not talking about criminal acts,
right?
Okay? Those are prosecuted in either a district court or the circuit court. Small claims court is kind of the way it is named. It is to deal with small monetary disputes between people, which is really important actually, because we need a mechanism in our legal system where people can deal with small monetary claims without getting into a full-blown litigation and costly mess. Okay? So we have one in Michigan, many states do. Here's the basic setup. These small claims courts have what we call jurisdictional limits, meaning they can only hear claims up to a certain amount of money. And in Michigan, the jurisdictional limit is $5,500. So if you have a dispute that's more than that, you can't be in small claims court. But if you have a dispute that is less than that, you can choose to have that case handled in the small claims court process. Okay. Here's why it's appealing to a lot of people and why it can be very efficient. Lawyers are not allowed in small claims court.
Saves you a lot of money right there, right?
That's right. So you know that you're not going to have to hire a lawyer, and you know that the person on the other side, if you initiate the claim, they're not going to have a lawyer. So you're not going to incur the legal bills, and you're not going to feel maybe the intimidation that you would feel if your opponent hired a lawyer.
Sure.
Now, it's important to remember that if you file one of these cases in small claims court, the defendant, the other party, can what's called remove it to a district court, which is a regular court. Sure. And then they would be entitled to a lawyer, and you would as well. Yeah. But most of these cases are handled within the small claims court process. So how does that work? Well, suppose you're the plaintiff. You initiate one of these actions, and the legal papers get served on the defendant through the small claims court, and hopefully you both show up. If you as the plaintiff don't show up, by the way, your case is going to get dismissed. If the defendant doesn't show up, that defendant can get defaulted, meaning they can get a judgment entered against them for not showing up. But what happens if you both show up? Well, if you both show up, your job is to present your version of the case, and the defendant presents his version of the case. And in the end of the day, either a judge or what we call a magistrate, which is kind of like a lawyer/judge, decides the case. Nice. And if it's a judge who decides the case, that's the ultimate outcome in the case, and you've had an opportunity now to resolve this maybe important but small monetary dispute in a quick and hopefully cheaper way than if you had hired your own lawyer.
It definitely doesn't cost you a lot of money. Under $100 to file a claim also usually, right?
That's right. It changes based on the amount of the dispute. The filing fee goes up the bigger your dispute. But the idea here is to make it easily accessible and to not make it cost prohibitive for people to be able to handle small claims.
Good to know. And if people have more interesting questions for you, Tom, where can they find you?
They can give us a call in Grand Rapids at 616-301-3333. Find us online at www.sinasdramis.com. or shoot us an email at info@sinasdramis.com.
Good stuff. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks for having me.